We don't know very much about his early life. We don't know where he was born. We don't know exactly when he was born. We don't know who his parents were. And we don't know very much about his early musical education. He went off to France with the English ambassador for a time and obviously studied the lute with someone when he was there. We don't know who. He received a bachelor's degree from both Oxford and Cambridge, and it's still not quite clear exactly how he did that. He then wanted very badly to be appointed to a post at the Elizabethan court, which wasn't possible at the time because they already had more lutenists than they could pay. And so he had to wait until one of them passed away. And in 1594, when John Johnson died, who was the most important of the Elizabethan court lutenists, Dowland expected that he would get that position, and he didn't. He undertook a trip to Italy to try to meet with his favorite composer, Luca Marenzio, in Rome, whose music he had studied in great detail and had borrowed quite a bit of it for his own music. Dowland went through Germany and was wooed by various courts there who invited him to stay as their court lutenist, but he was quite sure he was going to get the appointment in London. Carried on, went to Italy, and was approached in Florence in the street late one night by some Catholic expatriates who were planning on assassinating Queen Elizabeth. And he was spotted there by a spy who reported back to the Queen. And Dowland tried to write letters to everybody he thought might have influence with the Queen, to say that he didn't know these people, he had just been going for a walk and they approached him in the street and he didn't know what they were up to. But it was to no avail.
I'd read that Dowland thought that he was discriminated against for being Catholic in Elizabethan England. Do you think that was the case, or
I don't think so, because William Byrd, who was the master of the Chapel Royal under Queen Elizabeth, was an outspoken Catholic, and he seemed to get along just fine. As long as he minded his own business, the Queen didn't seem to bother that he was be bothered by the fact that he was Catholic. So that can't be the reason, because if she could accept William Byrd, then she could have accepted Dowland. I think a number of factors played a role. I think one is that Dowland had a very quick temper, and I think he often in his career said things that didn't endear him to the powers that be. He complained a lot. He was very egotistical, and so he reluctantly accepted a position at the court of Christian IV of Denmark and spent quite a few years at the Danish court there and commuted back and forth to London to oversee publication of his books of songs. After Queen Elizabeth died, he went back to England, but he had to wait about 6 years before he finally was given a position at the Jacobean court in 1612, by which point he didn't compose very much more. He was fairly old at that point, didn't compose very much new material, and he was fairly bitter about the whole situation. He lashed out at the younger generation of lutenists who he felt were going in the wrong direction musically. But I think it was basically a bitter old man who had all of his hopes dashed. He never got the Elizabethan court position. He never got to study with Luca Marenzio in Rome. He had to accept employment at second-rate positions most of his career until he was too old to really be of much influence. And he saw a new musical style taking over, of which he didn't approve.